shout and fight for brave America. We'll fight and shout and fight for brave America. My good people, I am so glad to meet you today. My name is Edward Hector. I'm one of the many black soldiers that fight during the American Revolution. I am the voice of those you have not heard, you have not learned about, but nonetheless are as responsible as anybody else for the freedoms that you have here and now. I fought in the Battle of Brandywine. I fought in the Battle of Germantown. I am a teamster and I am a bombardier. Here's the story. 3,000 to 5,000 people of color served the American cause. 7,000 to 10,000 served the British. General Washington was the general of one of the most integrated armies, all the way up until 1948, when Harry S. Truman commanded me in the Great Army for Korea. That would take 150 years to happen. 150 years before a person like that gentleman there and like myself could be in the same unit fighting the same enemy. That's crazy, isn't it? Yes. But unfortunately, it is true. Not only that, General Washington would command these 3 majority black regiments, one from Massachusetts, one from Rhode Island, and there would be a group that would come in with the French from Haiti, and they would fight the Battle of Savannah and the Battle of Charleston. These units would make a significant impact on our struggle for independence. And I want to give you 2 for instances. Up in New York, the battle is not going well, my friends. We're losing every last neighbor with the British. We're getting pushed southward until finally our back up against the river at Brooklyn Heights. We're trapped. The next day the British are going to close in. They're going to annihilate our army. They're going to capture this train of Washington. That will be the end of our fight for independence. Under the cover of night and fog, under the very noses of the British warships that would be anchored in that harbor that night, men would row their boats up. They would load the army into the boats. They would take them across the river. Some made that trip as many as 11 times that night. What you don't know is that many of those men who are rowing those boats are black soldiers from Marblehead, Massachusetts. That night, these men would not only save our army, but save our revolution. What do you think would happen if they would have captured General Washington? Think we got a chance to win? I don't think so. There's going to be another battle that's going to come down the pike. The Battle of Yorktown. Oh, before I go there, did you know we have spies in the British camp? Did you know we have black spies in the British camp? One of which is a gentleman named James Armistead. Later on, to add an additional name in honor of the person he's spying for, 38. He and other spies will hear information. The British are going to Yorktown. They were smuggled out of the camp. Now, Washington, they're going to go to Yorktown. Good. They will make a plan. They're going to surround the British at Yorktown. But Cornwallis, the leader of the British forces, this man is no fool. They would build fortifications around Yorktown. We're going to have to take out 2 of those fortifications before we can get close enough to use our heavy artillery against Yorktown. The first part of the battle, we attack a position, we get thrown back. We attack another position, we get thrown back. Finally, we start digging trenches towards Yorktown. Washington calls on one of his best regiments, the Rhode Island Regiment, to send in with their guns, unloaded, bayonets fixed. They would take their objective in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's how good soldiers these men are. The French would take out the other ones. We'd bring up our heavy cannons. We would commence with a bombardment of the city, but eventually would lead to the surrender of the British. This is where we would win the war. By the end of the war, 10 to 25% of Washington's army would be people of color. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, oh, Mr. Hector, that's fine and dandy, but what does that mean to me? Yeah, I can tell you thinking that. Well, He fights more than 10 battles, but let's say he fights 10 battles. Out of 10 battles, guess how many he wins? 2, 3. Now, you take away a quarter of his army. What do you think the chances of winning are now? So, I think you start to get the idea. Now, in schools, your children, they learn some American history, right? And they learn some African American history, right? But you know, many people believe that these two have nothing to do with each other. Is that so, my friends? Yeah. Thank you. You are so correct. African American history is American history. Yes. And you know what? I don't care where your people come from. I don't care what your ethnic origins are. I don't care what your social background is. If you are American, you share in African American history because these people helped you. Now, please don't mistake what I'm saying. Am I saying, we black people won the American Revolution all ourselves? Exactly. Now, no. Do you think we could have won it without the Irish, the Germans, the French, the Spanish? No. A man comes down the pipe. He gets his arms around this concept. He comes up with a motto for a country. E pluribus unum. It's Latin, but believe it or not, the children in your middle school can't even figure it out. Pluribus or plural, what does that mean? Many. Many, more than one. Unum. Roughly translated, it means the many that become one. Can you think of a better description of us Americans? Think about it. The Irish, the African, German, the French, the Spanish, Polish, Scottish, you get down there with it. Everybody make one nation, one people, Americans, us. Our power has always been in our diversity. You know what? It always will be in our diversity. It's just a shame. It is just a shame that we don't appreciate each other the way that we really should. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you realize what the implication of life is? It is saying that you're the free people you are today because a lot of black people would fight, die, so that you might be free. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Yes. I think it's immoral when somebody pays the ultimate price with their lives, only to be forgotten by those who's enjoying what that price bought. That's you. That's me. How do you think somebody that you love dearly died for somebody else's freedom when they didn't have them forgotten? My people were forgotten. And yes, I do feel very strongly about that. So, with that, I raise my voice. I talk for those who can't speak for themselves. I hope that you will get your arms around and realize what these people did for you. So, with that, I am now, and I shall continue to be, your most humble and obedient servant. Amen.
Please. Am I on? Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, so in the middle. Thank you, sir, for your service. This was an exceptional opening to our program today, and also very hard act to follow. I'm Catherine Evans. I'm the Deputy Director of Collections and Curatorial Strategies here at the Newark Museum of Art. And that means that I get to work with exceptional teams of curators and registrars and exhibition designers and the library and archives folks to really kind of change up what museums can be doing, and I think we're doing that here. I hope today is a great example of that. On behalf of our director, Linda Harrison, I'm thrilled to welcome you today. I'd like to start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional homelands of the Lenape, also known as the Delaware, upon which the Newark Museum of Art resides. Big shout out to that team I just mentioned, most especially Assistant Curator of Latinx and Latin American Art, Elena Munoz Rodriguez. Great. And our partner in crime, our wonderful Senior Curator of American Art, Tricia Lockman-Bloom. Who enthusiastically leaned into this collaboration with Linda Epps, with our creators. Old school, I should have this on my phone, right? We're thrilled to have partnered with the Newark History Society to put together today's program, kicking off a fantastic week of events honoring Cudjo Banquante, enslaved Newarker, Revolutionary War hero, and Black entrepreneur. To set the stage for today and the exciting events unfolding over the coming week, it's my great pleasure to introduce Linda Epps, herself an extraordinary Newarker and historian who, along with the Honoring Cudjo Banquante Committee, has worked so tirelessly to bring these events to fruition. Dr. Linda Cudjo Epps is president and CEO of 1804 Consultants, an organization whose mission is the advancement of not-for-profit educational cultural institutions. She's also a founding partner of some COFA collaborative dedicated to helping individuals, schools, museums, libraries to promote African American history and culture. And prior to all that, Linda was the president and CEO of the New Jersey Historical Society. Please join me in giving Linda a very warm welcome.
Deciding to make the right decision in life, and that decision was to join us here this afternoon. I lost a black notebook somewhere which had my remarks written in it, and I was getting ready to panic, and then Noah came along and basically said everything that I had written down in that notebook to say. However, that doesn't mean that I'm at a loss for words. Some of you might know of African-American artist Titus Kapoor. And if you don't know him by name, you've probably seen some of his work. Probably my favorite is one that hangs in the trustee boardroom at Yale University. And it's Elihu Yale, the founder of Yale, and donor, very generous donor to Yale University. And he's in England, and he's in a circle with a group of men outdoors, very well dressed, and drinking, which is probably Madeira, because that was the favorite, the favorite alcoholic drink of that time period. Partially because of the slave trade, but that's a whole story. And in the background, you see a number of children that I can only assume are either Mr. Gale's children or those of his guests, because they're dressed like they're rich children, and you see them having a good time with toys and things in the background. But come back to the front of that painting, and you see a little boy, probably about this high, holding a tray. And on that tray is a bottle of Madeira and some glasses. He's also very nattily dressed, very well. But his skin is black, and his hair is woolly. And around his neck, there is a locket. It's about this high, so he can only stand up straight. Right? But it tells us that he's a young boy who is in bondage. He's owned by Mr. Yale, I'm assuming, and educated. Okay, got the picture, right? Titus Kapoor has done another rendering of that same picture. But in it, Mr. Yale is etched out. And the name of that painting is Enough About You. Enough About You. The point that you're supposed to get, and if I had my notes I would be more articulate about this, is that we'll never know who that little boy was. We'll never know where he came from. Right? We'll never know how old he is. We'll never know anything at all about him. That could have happened with Cudjo Banquante, had it not been for, first, I think, Charles Cummings, for finding him in the stacks of the Newark Public Library. And he found him because even 50 years after Cudjo Banquante's death, his name was mentioned as a stellar citizen of Newark, New Jersey. And Cudjo, whenever possible, used his Anglican name along with his given African name. And through the years, researchers, Kofi Ayim in particular, who was responsible for writing a biography of Cudjo, people have been able to research him and find him because we had the dual names there. So we know where he came from in Ghana. We know what tribe he's descended from. We know about when he landed in Newark, New Jersey. We can guess he was born during the 1720s. And we know that he died, I think it was 1823. I was going to say 24. That's Bobby, she's the genealogist down here. We know that he died in 1823, which means that he was well over 100 years of age. We know who he fought with during the Revolutionary War, and that is George Washington. We know the battles that he fought in. We know when he was given his freedom at the age of 70 at the conclusion of the war, and we know that he was given an acre of land by his master, who was Benjamin Coe, and the Coe plantation, as it was called, the advance of that plantation sat where the Star Ledger building is now on Washington Street near Nevada Court. All of you who are Newarkers know where that is. Cudjo's land was on Martin Luther King Boulevard, roughly across the street from Arts High School, Wiggins Funeral Home, right in that area. It's where the Greek Orthodox Church is now owned by Metropolitan Baptist Church. We also know that he is buried underneath where NJPAC now sits, the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Right? And we know all that because Cudjo, again, used dual names, right? And he was such a likable and successful figure both while enslaved, and we know that because Benjamin Coe, when he fled the city when the British were coming, Cudjo was in charge of the household. Didn't stop the British from ransacking and destroying the house. But anyway, he left him in charge, right? You would think you would only leave your best enslaved person in charge. He's got to be trustworthy. You think he's not going to run away, right? He's got to be responsible and know how that thing should be taken care of, etc. So that gives us some idea of his character, and I know I'm going on too long, but I think it's important that you know this. We also know that he was a very spiritual man. He belonged to Old First Church on the corner of Broad Street and Branford Place, which probably close to 100 years after his death, that area and there was located the New Jersey head office for the Ku Klux Klan. We also know that he left Old First Church and joined Trinity Episcopal Church, the church that sits in Military Park now. We know that he had about 7 children, I think. Not all of them lived until adulthood, but those who did were able to receive an inheritance from Cudjo, that is land of their own to farm. Unfortunately for us, if they inherited his father's genes, it would have been nice for them to stay in New Jersey and help things out here because we were struggling, not financially, but we were struggling, I'm going to say, spiritually. because the institution of slavery did happen in New Jersey. I've spoken to many audiences through the years, and the audiences that did not know that slavery existed in New Jersey far outnumbers the audiences of people who did know. I'm assuming that all of you know, because you know about Cudjo. But news, as I said, he started a rare plants business, and newspaper articles for years after his death referred to him and the kind of character that he had. Cudjo claimed noble birth, and one of the articles said he carried himself so as to make it very easy to see that he was telling the truth about being of noble birth. So that's why we are honoring, oh, I forgot one thing. We are pretty sure that he is Newark's first documented businessman on the tax rolls of African descent. He might be for the entire state of New Jersey, but I'm not going to say that as boldly, because we're not quite sure. Probably yes, though. Kofi, who I just saw walk in, standing in the back there, who has done just a massive amount of research with the help of James Amenazor, Maureen over here, Steve Tedamante, people from the New Jersey Historical Society. This has been going on for over 20 years. Right? It started when I was working here. Had meticulously worked. When he wrote the book, it wasn't the end. He decided he was going to find any descendants. And he found them both here in the United States and across the river in Ghana. We know what tribe he descends from. And for the past, as I said, he was born somewhere in the 1720s. We think that he arrived here in his early teens. He was taken as a spoil of war, and the tribe simply did not know what happened to him. And they have a ceremony every year, much like the ceremony we have for 9/11. We have list and read the names of all those who lost their lives. The Chem tribe in Ghana reads the names of all those who went missing from the tribe, and they never found out what happened to them. So Cudjo Banquante's name has been read for close to 300 years. Except it won't be read anymore, because now we have told his story, and they know what happened to him as well as we do. We've been in touch with the descendants over in the tribe. So this is why we're honoring this man. He overcame the obstacle of being captured during a war. He was able to survive the Middle Passage, and we know the numbers of those who are able to do that are low. We had millions who made it here, but we also had millions who were lying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But he made that, and he did not let it dampen his spirit, right? He was a faithful servant, and obviously a congenial one, and a very talented one. He was a very successful businessman. We have citations where people talk about his beautiful gardens on Martin Luther King Boulevard, which was High Street back then, about the joy that they had walking past it, seeing his beautiful flowers there. So we know that he had talent. And again, we know that he was a very faithful and a very spiritual man. And I think if any of us can achieve half of that, we'd be worthy of being honored as well. So I'm glad that you came here this afternoon to join us. This is actually the third event in a total of, I think, 9?
I think we're 16 or so.
Oh, 16 events, okay. So this is the third. We had one last Saturday at the library, which was showing of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's film on Black Patriots, which you can see on your own. It's on YouTube. And during this season of the semi-quincentennial, where's Sarah? I finally got that down. Okay. Sarah from the Jersey Historical Commission, one of our funders. And the semi-quincentennial is what?
250.
Okay, so that's no fair, because you're a DNR person. You're supposed to know this stuff.
Argument for the state.
Right, she's supposed to know. So it's next year, we've already begun, commemorating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So I have mixed feelings about that. We're here, so I'm commemorating it. I'm not sure that we're ready for actual celebration, because we still have not realized what that document calls for, right? I'd like to say that we were here and we can send up all the balloons and shout hooray and throw out the confetti and blow bubbles and, you know, dance and everything, which is what we're going to do, right? Because we like to believe that we're there. But until we have a family that is not starving through no fault of their own, until we have people who are able to go to a place of potential employment and they are credentialed, and until they're looked at seriously and employed, we're not where we need to be. Because that document says that all men are created equal. They meant women there too, they just didn't say it because they were sexist. As we still are. Remember, we still have not passed the Equal Rights Amendment. So we have work to do, right? We're approaching, or at least I thought we were approaching, achieving what that document has promised. But we haven't. So I like to call this a commemoration, right? Because we realize that we still have work to do to make that document a reality. And I'm an old woman at this point. I'd like to say I'm going to see it before I leave this earth. I don't think so. But I'd like to be wrong. But this is one of the programs, our week-long series, that is part of the semi-concentrated. And one thing that I have been saying, I think in almost every meeting that the council that was set up to talk about this, is that we've got to draw a connection between what happened in 1776 and before that, and where we are today as a country, and why we are who we are today. And there are a number of reasons for it, and I'm not going to go through them here. But each and every single one of us should be aware. We should have a certain consciousness about us, that we are not yet where we said we wanted to be. We are not yet the kind of country that we said we wanted to be. I'm not even sure if those who wrote the document quite believed in what they were writing, but it sounded good on paper, and it still sounds good, but it would feel good as well if we were truly living that out. So I wholeheartedly welcome you and thank you for being with us this afternoon. We've left a list of other activities through the week at the desk up front. If you're not aware of what they are, you can pick one of those up. If you forget to do that, you can look on the website of the New Jersey Historical Society or the Newark History Society. You can get a bio of Cudjo Banquante, and you can get a listing of all the events. So my next task is to introduce our performing artist for this afternoon. The Daughters of the American Revolution made contact with me probably about 18 months ago and explained who Cudjo was, which I already knew, and said that we would like to place a marker, which, as you know, we are doing, and we'd like to have a ceremony around us, and we'd like to place a marker on his property. Can you help? And I said I could probably help, but I'm not sure that that's the best place to put the marker, and we decided to change it and have it where he was buried. And the libation ceremony and everything for that will be next Saturday at 11 a.m. if you're interested in attending. And we started planning for that occasion, and I said, Carrie, Nina, Bobby, Kofi, we need to think bigger about this. Because we should try and reach as many people as we possibly can. They should all know this story, right? So we started meeting, and we have met just about every Tuesday. We took off the Tuesday after Christmas, and we took off a Tuesday in August. But other than that, we have met every Tuesday since last February. We have met every other Wednesday in addition to the Tuesdays since last February, because we knew that if we were going to do anything, we had to raise the money to do it, which we successfully did. That's why we're here today. But one of the first people that I called and thought about was Courtney Bryan, Dr. Courtney Bryan. And I thought of her because I know her when she was, she's from New Orleans. She flew up here to be with us today. But she was a member of our church while she was doing her postdoctorate work at Princeton and at Rutgers. And you did something at Columbia too. Okay, and she's smart. So, she's smart and talented. And I called her and I said, Courtney, you know, I'm involved in this project. I had just read about her being a receiving the MacArthur Genius Award in 2023. And I said, might you consider composing an original piece of music in tribute to Cudjo Banquante? And I said, I know you're busy, because she was in Italy, I think, when I had that conversation with her. And she said, oh, you know, it sounds nice, but let me think about it. And I didn't hear. And I said, okay, I know she's busy, let her off the hook. So I called her 2 weeks after that and said, I wanted to say, you know, I'm sorry that I put that on you. I know you're busy, you teach, you do this, you do that. And she said, no. I've thought about this and I want to do it. She said, I read the information that you sent me, he's got such an interesting background, and I want to do this. And I will do whatever it takes to be with you next year for your festivities. And that's why she is here today. So I don't know what else I'm going to have to say about it, because I lost my little notebook with all the information. If anyone sees it, it says Rutgers Theological Seminary, which I actually took at Rutgers Theological Seminary. Not that I took it. And if you find it, you'll see why I took it. But she's here, and I'll let her speak for her. You're going to introduce your musicians, all right? So Miss Courtney Bryan.
Thanks to the whole committee. I know, so many people in this mission make this possible. But I do want to clarify, when I first heard from Dr. Epps, I think my only hesitation was knowing the level of the projects that you work on. I wanted to make sure that I could create something that would really honor. I mean, everything over the years, I always remember, like, anything that you're doing, just love to learn from and be a part of. So I remember just being like, can I do this? So very honored to be here today and to see so many of my folks from Bethany Baptist Church. I refer to a certain time. Oh yeah. I just kind of refer to it as my Bethany years. I'm still connected, but like the Bethany years have been like such a key part of my development as a person, as a musician, as a scholar, in my spiritual life. I see Rodney Smith, got to work together every Sunday, along with the great and recently late William Whitaker. See Miss Dorothy Kirk. So, and all of my, I'm going to go around the room. But I just want to say, like, when I think about the Bethany years, is that I was working on my doctorate at Columbia at the time, and I had things very separate, and I had my spiritual life, and I had academic life. But when we were there with Reverend Dr. Bill Howard, I was able to sort of piece these things together while I was at Bethany, like, and I could play whatever I wanted on the piano, because like sometimes in church, I see Dr. Williams. A lot of times you have certain things you can play in church and certain things you can play in the club, and all these different separations. But like at Bethany, if I wanted to play soft, if I wanted to play like with my elbows, if I wanted to play inside the piano, it was all praising God. So I appreciate that. So I do want to say a bit about getting to work on this project, and also that we'll save a few minutes after we present the piece if you have any questions or want to discuss anything, because I was really excited about the process. But it was a great experience for all of us, just getting to learn from all the rich historical material that was presented, and to learn about Cudjo Banquante, and just think about, especially in this time period, where they're banning books and trying to get rid of diversity initiatives, get rid of Black history, and so to be able to write music that really honors the spirit of this historical figure, and to do something that celebrates Newark as well as the special. And so I'll briefly introduce the performers, and you'll see them. One of our performers has flown from New Orleans. Joshua Stewart is a performer who's based in New Orleans and in Berlin. So he's come up for the event. There's improvisation in the piece. We'll talk about that. So all of us have put in different elements to the composition. And the other performer is Damian Norfleet, who's based in New York, and he's also the librettist for the work. So he's written the words in both English and Sean? Achin, thank you, Achin, sorry. So you'll hear the two languages in the libretto. So without further ado, we'll do the piece and then look forward to having some conversation.
resilience.
White remembrances.
White remembrances.
White remembrances.
White remembrances.
White remembrances.
White remembrances.
Thank a dear friend of mine who graciously donated their space for us to create this piece in Manhattan. They're very humble people. I'm going to say their names. Two of my best friends, Benny and Edith Corman, who are actually here tonight. Today. Graciously donated their space. Thank you.
Can you, I'll just ask, can you share a bit about what it means to do the libretto?
Oh, learning the material about his life was a gift. But basically, many of you are familiar with the story at this point. I mean, he's from Ghana, slave, soldier, entrepreneur. And we have plenty of activities highlighting his service in the military. And I couldn't really sit with the violence of war at the moment. So I decided to focus more on things he did later and how he became an entrepreneur and decided to take his incredibly traumatic life and his strength and perseverance, and he decided to put it into the soil and give us flowers. He went into this business of giving beauty to people. He imported exotic flowers and grew some of his own and sold them to people. And I thought there was something incredibly powerful about this person who went through this hardening life to make a decision to give back something as fragile and beautiful as flowers. So that's kind of the journey I went through. I stuck with the theme of digging and marching, and then tried to end in a place of beauty and giving back, legacy. So that's kind of what we were in mind. And I wanted to incorporate languages from his homeland in addition to English that we primarily speak here. So that was kind of and the rest of it I took as inspiration from Memphis, Missouri. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for what you've done. I didn't plan to talk over here, but I felt like I should say something. My name is James Aminaso, originally from Ghana, and I'm probably the only person who here probably had worked with slave village in Ghana, which was the headquarters of the largest slave trading companies in West Africa in the 18th century. I'm talking about Cape Coast Castle. So I walked those dungeons for so long and conducted tours for people, telling them about the African end of the transatlantic slave trade. So you really connected me back to the Cape Coast Castle, seriously. And I just felt like I should share. Thank you so much for that. I want to encourage everybody, if you can make it go back there to Ghana or to any African country and connect that way, that would be very powerful. Yes, so I didn't like to talk about it, I just thought I should share that. Thank you so much.
I realized that I failed failed to mention in my remarks the leading partners in this. One of them is Global Linkages. Some of you are aware of it. And they run trips to Ghana. They will be doing one in 2026. August of 2026, taking into consideration Cudjo Banquante, what we've learned and unearthed. So it will be a cultural, educational, let's have a good time kind of tour. And if you are interested, just contact one of us and we can give you information about that. Lorna, unfortunately, had planned a tour. I don't know where she is. I think she's in Brazil. She's in Brazil and could not be here with us today. But Global Linkages is one of our sponsors, and they want to keep this whole thing going. So they are offering that tour then. I also realized, George back there, Rob, I did say something about the Newark History Society, but I didn't say it emphatically enough. So I want to thank the Newark History Society. They were our fiscal agent and joined us on those Tuesday morning meetings, George in particular, who on many occasions was the only male. We tried not to beat him up too bad because he lasted through it, but I wanted to give a personal shout out to him. Carrie, raise your hand. Carrie? Nina Hogan and Bob Barry from the DAR. And from the New Jersey Historical Society, along with Steve Telemonte. Who am I forgetting? Kofi Aying, who got on the phone from Ghana, was every other Wednesdays. He's back in the back there. And Nikita, one of the descendants. Nikita, who we expect to be in towards the end of the week. She couldn't take the entire week off from work, but one of the descendants who had no idea that she was a descendant until we told her would be here with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you and hear this. I just saw Sinners yesterday. Woo! And as I was listening to this, there was strands that touched me in this similar way. And the movement from the horror, which in those little bells, those little the little echoes, to then the flowers. And so I know it wasn't created in that same space, but I don't know if you've seen that and how the conversation of this could really, really tie into what is happening in the popular spaces. Just a thought. I think there's a lot of connections that we can make. Beautiful, beautiful work.
Maybe a chance to share a little bit more about process, because I mentioned a lot of it's improvised, so there's certain parts that I wrote directly to Damian's words, and then the rest was left open. We decided, we met in a room. In fact, the two of them just met 2 days ago. So there is a lot in that moment, thank you, Edith, where we got together and determined a lot of stuff together. In fact, that was a decision today about that song, right? Do you want to share anything about the improvisation process or the instrument?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so because we speak so much about bondage and institution slavery, I thought to give the flavor. We both enjoy jewelry, and we both had bracelets on, and we were in this amazing space. So I think of music more in a ritual sense, like the greater value of sound manipulation, where we do this thing intentionally. So I thought something like this, it can be bells, it can be jingle bells, it could be whatever you need, you know.
It was originally a fish sound. Yeah, and then Josh came up with that great idea, the space, that a metallic sound was better, it touched better with the process.
And the girl that did the bagel in some cultures, and I don't know history, but I feel very much that same kind of connection about finding that food until last night.
Interesting.
So when I came in, my grandmother.
I love that. To answer your question, I have not seen it yet. I'm going to now. That's my homework. I love it. Okay. But yeah, that's all. A lot of the process was very in the moment. I mean, the whole process was kind of like that, which I love because it keeps it space, and not just a space where we're creating. And I think that's probably what we'll continue to do. It's a good way to work.
If we have time, I think there's one more question.
Yeah, one more question, then we're going to go on to the next portion of our afternoon.
I just want to thank you for that amazing work and that amazing performance. What a gift to all of us. I hope we're going to hear this again and again and again. Do you have plans to perform it again, record it again? I hope you do.
Something I do want to say that we all talked about was just the honor to be able to do a project like this, like to learn about this important figure that none of us knew about before the project, and to really think about how important it is to tell stories like of the cities that we live in. I still claim Newark, so but Newark's one of my cities, so like so I'm really proud to like think about Newark history, but we're talking about, oh yeah, there's all these, you know, like we want to know more about different historical figures that are so important that we have that are not talked about as much, just inspired by the amount of research and work that went into bringing his story to so many people. So that's something we're talking about, like how are we going to continue doing that with, you know.
And it's like adding another great hero and role model to the canon. You know, we all grew up knowing about Harriet Tubman, we all grew up hearing about these other people, and Madam C.J. Walker, and it's like, here's another one. Especially for those young people who are like, I want to grow up to be a botanist, or I want to grow up to be, here's a new person who's done that, you know.
We have a botanist hero.
We have a botanist hero.
So thank you all so much. Oh.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Elena. Hard to move from this wonderful space that's been created, but we do have an opportunity to get you into the galleries and meet some of the historians and the artists who created this wonderful painting. First, I want to let Elena introduce another component, which is here for you to enjoy today, but also over the next 2 years. I'll let her explain it.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elena Munoz Rodriguez. I'm Assistant Curator, Latinx and Latin American Art. So Trisha and I are the American Art Department. And we have been working on our Rev NJ initiative, so celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So we've put together a self-guided tour, bilingual, through our galleries. And it's both floors of Seeing America, so hopefully you guys will be able to spend some time with some of these artworks. If not today, hopefully you'll be able to come back. And as Trisha said, it'll be up for the next 2 years. And we are really hoping that it'll encourage you to think critically about some of these revolutionary ideals and how they've continued through our history and through our culture.
We're really appreciative that the Honoring Cudjo Banquante series of events got us sort of fired up to do something and be able to participate. But so now I would like to introduce you to the spotlight characters for the next half hour or so. If you could stand, please, John Phillip Osborne. In northern New Jersey, and this is his beautiful painting, The Heat of the Battle, that you can see in person thanks to the collaboration with the Daughters of the American Revolution and everybody involved. Dr. James Amenasor, you met moments ago. James is a professor at Rutgers, Newark, and research specialist at New Jersey Historical Society, and he will be in our Arts of Global Africa Gallery, which is just up here to your left, to answer questions about that piece of Cudjo's story. And also we have Noelle Lorraine Williams, if you would please stand. Noelle is a director of the African American History Program at the Black Heritage Trail, New Jersey State Historical Commission. It's so much more complicated than that, but she's a really important contributor here at the museum and with Black history in Newark and throughout New Jersey. She'll be, John and Noelle will be down the hall to your right in the Seeing America galleries to meet and talk to. And then, after about half an hour, I don't track the time anymore, but we're going to have refreshments. I think book signing? Yes, with Kofi Ayim back here in the Welcome Center.
No more music?
In new and revised last edition. It's amazing. I can't wait to see the new edition. And we will still have our guest from the 18th century with us. If you have questions for him about life as a black soldier in the 18th century, thank you so much.
I had to go around the sinkhole and the meeting.
Before you all go away, I noticed that you all have a way of showing appreciation for these talented people by doing something like this. You're such savages. And really. I think one of the ways that I would like to honor Cudjo is in the way that he would have been familiar with. And during the colonial period, we would say, huzzah. One huzzah, good. Two huzzah, that's it. But if you really want to honor somebody to the maximum, three huzzah. So, by your lead, I would like to leave you with